So first of all, we need to understand what is the IFRS. Okay, at least we should know what is IFRS. We just have heard what is IFRS, but what exactly it is. So this is the IFRS website, ifrs.org. You can also check out later. So IFRS is basically are the basically standards, the international financial reporting standards, but they are made by the IFRS Foundation, which is a not-for-profit public interest organization established to develop single set of high quality, understandable, enforceable, globally accepted accounting standards, that is the IFRS standards, and promote and facilitate adoption of the standards. IFRS standards are set by IFRS Foundation. IFRS Foundation standard setting body, the International Accounting Standards Board. IFRS Foundation has a standard setting body called the International Accounting Standard Board, which makes the IFRS. Okay. Now this is the history of the IFRS, how it started. It started in 1973. Okay. The idea about developing IFRS came in 1973. So you can see here the various professional accounting bodies like our Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So professional accounting bodies of Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Japan, Mexico, Netherlands, United Kingdom, Ireland, and United States form International Accounting Standards Committee, the IASC, and agree to adopt international accounting standards for cross-border listings. So, especially for cross-border listing, for example, a German company wants to list in America, or Australian company wants to list in America. They needed some common standards so that worldwide any investor can read their financial statements easily. So as every country had their own standards, so they needed some common standard so that they could easily list their companies in other countries. At the same time, all the countries will be making their financial statements on the same set of rules. So it becomes very easily comparable, helps in mergers, acquisitions across the world, helps for investors in cross-border investments. Plus, it is easy to list a country outside your own country. So these countries came together, their professional bodies came together and decided, because there was a lot of business happening between these countries, they decided that we need a same set of standards. And then finally, the committee, the International Accounting Standards Committee, IASC, they published the framework for preparation and presentation of financial statements, the first international conceptual framework. So they came up with the framework in 1989. This is the chronology. In 1990, they came up with standards. So issuance of IAS 31 financial reporting of interest in joint ventures. IASC completes its initial comprehensive set of 31 international accounting standards. So they came up with 31 international accounting standards. They call it the International Accounting Standards. They also published the statement of intent comparability of financial statements. So statement indicated that we want to reduce the alternative account treatment. So every country has its own account treatment. We want to reduce that. That was the intent IASC came up with. फिर chairman of IASC urges the IOSCO to accept international accounting standards. IOSCO is basically the body which is behind the US listings. Okay, this is behind the US listings. That is the body which approves the listing of companies on the US stock exchanges. We can study what is IOSCO. I forgot the full form. International Organization of Securities Commission. So this is the association of organizations that regulate the world's securities and future markets. So this is the body that approves the various listings, especially in the US market, because most of the listings will happen in the US market. So they had to accept it because the original idea was about cross-border listing. So they had to accept the standards. They should be okay with it. So they committed the review and all that. Then later in 2002, Europe adopted the law for all listed companies to adopt IFRS. In Europe, in 2004, 7,000 companies in 25 countries switched from national accounting standards to IFRS. Concurrently, Australia, Hong Kong, New Zealand, South Africa, and others adopt IFRS. This happened in 2005. Then China also adopts accounting standards substantially in line with IFRS. So, with the goal of full convergence, like India, they also made their own IFRS standard. That is called convergence. Convergence meeting at some common point. So India is actually very late as compared to other countries. Then in 2007, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Israel, Korea established timelines to adopt IFRS standards. Established timelines as in from this date, the standards will be applicable. 2008, Malaysia, Mexico announced their intent. 2009, Japan approves. Brazil, 2010. 2011, Canada begins using the IFRS standards. 2012, Argentina, Mexico, Russia all begin using standards. Then finally, 2015, India introduces Ind AS, Indian Accounting Standards, based on the IFRS in 2015. So that is the timeline. So coming till India, India started adopting, or India came up with its own set of Indian accounting standards from 2015. So India chose the convergence option. Convergence is having our own set of standards instead of straight away applying the IFRS. The reason was that IFRS is basically kind of or international standard. At the same time, the language used there is in some cases not relevant for Indian market. Okay, so there is some different language there. So we wanted our Indianized version so that it will be applicable to the Indian company. But at the same time, it is in lines with IFRS only. Okay, so it is exactly similar to IFRS, but in the Indianized version. Now this is our chapter. Ind AS on presentation of items in the financial statements. Unit 1, Indian Accounting Standard, presentation of financial statements. That is the Ind AS 1. Unit 1, we'll be studying about Ind AS 1. That is the presentation of financial statements. This is the chapter about. Firstly, we'll be studying about I'm starting from this point, the roadmap point. Okay. Firstly, we'll be understanding about what was the roadmap, how India implemented the Ind AS, roadmap for implementation of the Ind AS, provisions as per the Companies Act, guidance note, a new guidance note on Division 2 on Schedule 3 came. First of all, we always knew that Schedule 3 We used to make balance sheet P&L account as per Schedule 3. Okay. But now they inserted Division 2 in the Schedule 3, which spoke about Ind AS. Plus, they came up with a guidance note on that. Guidance note is issued by the institute. Then objective, scope, and definition about Ind AS 1. Then financial statements, purpose of financial statements, complete set of financial statement, what exactly comprise of the financial statement. That meaning has also changed than the earlier accounting standard definition. General features of the statements. Then structure and content of the financial statements. Firstly, identify the financial statements, balance sheet, statement of P&L and comprehensive income, statement of changes in equity. This is the new thing that came, and statement of cash flows and notes. Okay. So the new addition here is the statement of changes in equity. Okay. So as you understood, what was the background? Basically, internationally, IFRS is used, and the world uses the same set of standards because it is easy in the globalized world to deal with other countries. Also, it is easy for foreign investors to invest in other countries. It helps in mergers, acquisitions, plus it helps in expansion. For example, Indian companies are now no more only Indian. They have set up offices outside India. They have expanded outside India. Foreign companies have come to India. So we need accounting standards which are common worldwide. So it will be very easy to compare. Otherwise, what will happen? Every time when you are dealing with a company in some other country, you will have to first understand what kind of accounting standards they are using, what kind of accounting treatment they are giving, and then we will have to understand their financial statements. We cannot directly compare. So that was a big problem. Especially, we also saw that about international listings. There was always that problem. So if you want to list your company abroad, or a foreign company wants to come in India, they had to again adopt different set of standards which are used in that country and then get listed. That was again a problem for the investors also, for the company also. So that is why long back all the countries came together and decided that we should have a common set of standards. And from that, the international accounting standards, also called as the IFRS. India also is on the growth track now. So India also needed to switch to IFRS as quickly as possible. So finally in 2015, we decided that yes, we will be switching now. Earlier they said that you can adopt it voluntary basis pay, but now it has become mandatory. So all the big companies had to switch to IFRS. So we'll be understanding what is the background, how IFRS got implemented in India, what was the timeline, and which are the companies which are required to use IFRS. That is the Ind AS story. At the same time, the companies which are not covered under the Ind AS, that is the companies which are left out of the Ind AS application, will continue using the accounting standards which we studied in Inter, or whatever accounting standards we know so far. So the companies, small companies, mid-sized companies, which are not covered by the Ind AS, will continue using the accounting standards. So they will continue. There is no change in their life. But the big companies having net worth above some limit and all the listed companies definitely, they are supposed to switch to Ind AS. That is mandatory now. Just a minute, I'll try to make this big. It is not happening. Yeah. So introduction to the Indian accounting standards. We'll just read what I just said. In the present era of globalization and liberalization, freeing up the economy, the world has become an economic village. So today in globalization world, the whole world is one market, or you can call it a economic village. The globalization of the business world, the attendant structure, the structures that supported the business, and the regulations which support it, as well as the development of e-commerce, make it imperative to have single globally accepted financial reporting system. So as the world has become one market, it is imperative, it is necessary that we need a single globally accepted financial reporting system. So it's like all the countries in the world are following the same set of rules. A number of multinational companies are establishing their businesses in various countries with emerging economies and vice versa. So multinational companies, the word is only saying that they are in various nations, multinational. So they are setting up business in various developing countries. Plus, companies from developing countries like India are also establishing their businesses outside the country. The entities in emerging economies are increasingly accessing global markets to fulfill their capital needs by getting their securities listed on the stock exchange outside their country. So in India also, various companies have already listed on the American stock exchange like Infosys, TCS, Tata Motors, Wipro. Capital markets are thus becoming integrated, consistent with this worldwide trend. One of the major reasons is for the capital markets also, the investors, that is the stock market worldwide. As we saw the starting also, that they wanted a cross-border listing that was basically listing their companies on the other stock exchanges. So capital markets basically are becoming integrated with the worldwide trend. Basically, all the companies which are listed worldwide will be following the same set of rules. So it becomes very easy for the cross-border listing. So for a Nestle to list in India or for an Indian company to list abroad, becomes very easy then because everyone is following the same set of rules. Investors also understand what business they are investing in. More and more Indian companies are being listed on overseas stock exchanges. The use of different accounting frameworks in different countries, which require inconsistent treatment and presentation of same underlying economic transactions, creates confusion for users of financial statements. So, for example, the treatment we are giving as per our standards, that is our accounting standards, might differ with what accounting standards treatment is under the IFRS. That can create a lot of confusion. This confusion leads to inefficiency in capital markets across the world. That leads to inefficiency, that leads to some problems for investors. Therefore, increasing complexity of business transactions and globalization of capital markets call for a single set of high quality accounting standards. So we need good high quality accounting standards so that it will facilitate globalization of the capital markets also, and globalization of the all the business transactions and the business also. High standards of financial reporting underpin the trust investors place in financial and non-financial information. As we already know that if the companies are preparing their financial statements as per accounting standards, that means they must be true and fair. That's the whole logic, that they must be disclosing everything in the true and fair way. Similarly, if there are good accounting standards used globally, obviously investors will become more confident. They will be more trusting towards investing in various companies. And it includes not only financial information, but also non-financial. Non-financial includes kind of the notes to accounts, which give a lot of information about the companies. Thus, the case for a single set of globally accepted accounting standards has prompted many countries to pursue their adoption or convergence. So either you adopt directly or you convert. That is, you make your own and then meet them at some point. Convergence is meeting at a common point. Convergence of national accounting standards with IFRS. So like India did and China did, that they made their own version of the IFRS and they made it. So indirectly they adopted the IFRS only. The international financial reporting standards are considered a principle-based set of standards. They're called principle-based. In fact, they establish broad rules rather than dictating specific treatment. So they give you a lot of rules by which you have to make your accounting treatments. So they don't say ki do this, but they will make overall rules that you have to follow. Every major nation is moving towards adopting them to some extent. Large number of authorities require public companies to use IFRS for stock exchange listing purposes. And in addition, banks, insurance companies, stock exchange may use them for their statutory required reports. So large companies, especially the public companies, are required to use IFRS, especially if you want to list. Also, listed companies have to adopt. Secondly, banks, insurance companies, stock exchanges will also be asking companies to make statements as per IFRS for their own requirements. So over the next few years, thousands of companies will adopt the international financial reporting standards while preparing their financial statements. So maybe it happens that over the period, even small and mid-sized companies will be using the IFRS, that is the Ind AS. So that is the whole background, which you already understood. From the timeline only we understood why the IFRS and how India adopted in 2015. Now, what was the government of India response to the IFRS? Consistent, comparable, and understandable financial reporting is essential to develop a robust economy. So, good financial reporting, that is accounting. Financial reporting is another word for accounting, is very essential to have a good economy. With a view to achieve international benchmarks of financial reporting, that our accounting treatment should also be at par with international treatment, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, as a proactive role in accounting, set out to introduce the Indian Accounting Standards, Ind AS, converged with the International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS. This endeavor of the ICAI is supported by the Government of India. Our standard making body is the ICAI only. Initially, Ind AS were expected to be implemented from the year 2011. However, keeping in view of the fact that certain issues, including tax issues, are still to be addressed, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs decided to postpone the date of implementation of the Ind AS. Some issues were there in tax, especially tax treatment and all. So we delayed that. So as in India, you know, the proposals happen very early, but it actually implementation happens very late. In July 14, after the BJP government came into power, the Finance Minister of India at that time, Shri Arun Jaitley ji, in his budget speech, announced an urgency. So he said that it was high time now we adopted the IFRS, announced an urgency to converge the existing accounting standards with the international financial reporting standards through adoption of the new Ind AS by Indian companies from the financial year 15-16 voluntarily. So first they said voluntarily, and from the financial year 16-17 on a mandatory basis. 1 year they gave for converting voluntarily, and most of the companies started adopting it from 15-16 only, because anyways they had to adopt from the next year. Pursuant to the above announcement, various steps have been taken to facilitate the implementation of the IFRS converged Ind AS. So they were implemented. Moving in this direction, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs has issued the company's Indian Accounting Standard Rules 15, covering a revised roadmap of implementation of Ind AS for companies other than banking, insurance, and NBFCs and Indian accounting standards. So they had a roadmap in a phased manner they implemented. So they didn't make it applicable for all companies from the very beginning. They implemented in phases. We'll be seeing those phases. And the same point again, as per notification, Indian AS converged with international financial reporting standards shall be implemented on a voluntary basis from 1st April 15 and mandatory from 1st April 16. ठीक है, इधर तक ओके, इतना समझते हैं?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Then what are the Indian accounting standards, Ind AS? The big question. The Indian accounting standards are international financial reporting standards, converged standards issued by the central government of India under the supervision and the control of the Accounting Standards Board of ICAI and in consultation with the National Financial Reporting Authority, NFRA. So Indian accounting standards are converged standards, converged with the IFRS, issued by the central government under supervision of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, that is the ASB of the ICAI, Accounting Standard Board, and in consultation with the NFRA, that is the National Financial Reporting Authority. Now, this is the flow. The Accounting Standard Board of the ICAI is a committee under the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, which consists of representatives of various government departments, academicians, other professional bodies, representatives of ICSI, ICAI, that is Institute of Cost Accountants of India, representatives from various chambers of commerce. Chambers of commerce are basically bodies where businesses become the members, and these bodies help them to improve their business and connections, and whatever issues they have, they raise it in front of the government. So various chambers are, there are many chambers, but the famous ones are ASSOCHAM, CII, FICCI, etc. So all the businesses can become members of the chambers of commerce. It always helps that you are a member of some body. So they will see to it that the members get good business, and whatever problems they are facing are addressed. They will make a representation of the government that these are the problems our industry members are facing and all that. The National Financial Reporting Authority recommends these standards to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and Ministry of Corporate Affairs has to spell out the accounting standards applicable for companies in India. So ASB will make the standards. They will refer it to the NFRA. NFRA will refer it to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and Ministry of Corporate Affairs will finally approve it. Ind AS are named and numbered in the same way as the corresponding international financial reporting standards. The numbering and naming is similar to the IFRS. Then there are some things called as the carve-outs or carve-ins in the Ind AS. Carve-outs are something like IFRS says something, IFRS gives some treatment, but in Indian environment, that is not applicable, because India, things happen differently. So we will be following IFRS, but for that small thing, we will be using our own treatment. For example, in USA, for example, or the IFRS says that whenever there is a default in payment of loan during the year, immediately, even if it's a long-term loan and there is a default in the payment of that, immediately you have to record that as a current liability, because as soon as you default, the banks will ask you for the full repayment as per the IFRS. So logic is that even if you have taken a long-term loan and you default in payment of installment, then internationally banks will immediately call you to pay the whole loan because you have defaulted. So automatically that becomes a current liability now because you have to pay now. So internationally the treatment is that now as you defaulted, now in the balance sheet show the loan as a current liability. But in India, what happens is that generally it doesn't become a current liability because India में कैसा होता है कि we have a good relationship with the bankers. Okay, bankers are not that strict. So if we do a meeting with them, do negotiations and all that, they will say, okay, no problem, no problem. Pay some penalty or pay the amount due with some interest, and then you can continue with the loan. So India, the situation is different. So that is why even if there is a default happening in the loan, maybe on the balance sheet date, still we'll be recording it as a normal long-term liability, non-current liability. If before approval of the financial statements, we negotiate with the bank and bank is okay with it. So these are called carve outs. So we have to literally adjust as per our Indian situation because situation maybe in US is different than situation in India. So little carve outs are there. Carve ins are basically whatever IFRS says, plus we have some additional things that we are doing. So we are following the accounting treatment as per IFRS, plus we have our own additional treatment. That is carve in. So Government of India, in consultation with the ICAI, decided to converge and not to adopt the IFRS issued by IASB. So not directly adopt. The decision of convergence rather than adoption was taken after the detailed analysis of IFRS requirements and extensive discussion with the various stakeholders. Stakeholders are basically industry members and all that. And also the various accommodations and various chambers of commerce and all that. So they understood that IFRS, the language used and the treatment used somewhere is definitely in line with what happens internationally, mostly what happens in America. So somewhere we cannot directly use it because it won't be perfectly applicable to all the Indian companies. Accordingly, while formulating IFRS converged Indian accounting standards, India's efforts have been made to keep these standards as far as possible in line with the corresponding international accounting standards or IFRS, and departures have been made were considered absolutely essential. So only when absolutely essential we have departed from the IFRS. Otherwise, we are actually following the IFRS only. So basically, when you are studying India, you are actually studying the IFRS. These changes have been made considering various factors such as, so where we have departed, we have considered these factors such as terminology. The most important is terminology, the wordings. For example, statement of profit and loss we will be using in place of place in place of statement of comprehensive income, and balance sheet in place of statement of financial position. So in the IFRS they call it the statement of comprehensive income, and balance sheet they call it as the statement of financial position, but we are used to calling it statement of profit and loss and balance sheet. So that we have used. Then removal of options in accounting principles and practices in India's vis-a-vis IFRS. So IFRS doesn't give you much options in account treatment. So limited options are there. So in India's also they have limited the options of treatment. Plus India's has fewer options as compared to the IFRS. Also, certain changes have been made considering the economic environment of the country, which is different as compared to the economic environment presumed to be in existence of by IFRS. So obviously, our economic environment, that is our situation in India, the way we do business is different than what internationally uh, business is done. So we have to make some changes, obviously. So these differences are due to differences in application of accounting principles and practices and economic conditions prevailing in India. These differences, which are in deviation to the accounting principles and practices stated in IFRS, are called as carve out. Plus, there is something called as a carve-in. For example, in Ind AS 103 business combination, is a Ind AS, an additional guidance on accounting of business combination of entities under common control is given, which is over and above what is given in IFRS. So we'll be following IFRS plus additional point we have given, additional treatment we have suggested. That is a carve-in. Okay. Now I'll just show you an example of the carve out to understand what I mean. It's the same example what I explained, but it will be better if we read it. It's at the end of the chapter. See this. Carve out in Ind AS 1 from IS 1, from IS 1, that is International Accounting Standard 1. Numbering is the same as we discussed. As per IFRS, IS 1, that is International Accounting Standard 1, requires that they call it IS. The IS 1 requires, in case of loan liability, if any condition of the loan agreement which was classified as non-current, non-current is a long-term loan, is breached on the reporting date, that is on date of preparing the balance sheet, or before that, such loan liability should be classified as current, even if the breach is rectified after the balance sheet date. So what IS 1 says, that what is the IFRS says, that if there is a loan which is a non-current loan, that is a long-term loan, current is basically short-term, which has to be paid within 12 months. If there is a long-term loan and it is breached as on the reporting date, so as on the balance sheet date, there was a breach in the payment of the loan or any condition of the loan agreement. So before or as on the balance sheet date, there was a default. Then immediately classify that loan liability as a current liability. So it becomes current from non-current. Even after, they are saying, even after the balance sheet date, you settled with the bankers, you negotiated, and bankers are okay, continue with the loan. Still, you have to classify that as current as per the IFRS. Ind AS 1 says that it's a carve out. Ind AS clarifies that where there is a breach of a material provision of a long-term loan arrangement on or before the end of the reporting period is again 31st March, with the effect that the liability becomes payable on demand on the reporting date. When does it become payable on demand? On default, generally. The entity does not classify the liability as current. If, this is Indian version, if the lender agreed after the reporting period and before the approval of final statements. So even after the balance sheet date, as on the balance sheet date, we have defaulted. But after the balance sheet date, but before approval of final statements, before the final statements are approved by the board, we made an agreement with the lender and lender is okay with it. Then there is no need to record it as a current liability. You can continue with this classification as non-current. After the reporting date and before the approval of final statements for issue, not to demand payment as a consequence of the breach. So what we have said here, just a minute, I'll read the whole thing. The entity does not classify the liability as current if the lender agreed after the reporting period and before the approval of final statements for the issue, not to demand payment as a consequence of breach. So as on the balance sheet date, there is a breach, we didn't pay the loan or we defaulted. But after the balance sheet date, but before the final statements are approved, we negotiate with the lender. Lender is okay. He says, okay, no problem. You pay whatever installment was due. and then you can continue with the loan. Then there is no need to classify the liability as current. That is the Indian version. So that is a carve out. So we are not following the IFRS here because that is not in line with the economic environment in our country. That is a carve out. They have given the reason also. The reason is given that under Indian banking system, a long-term loan agreement generally contains a large number of conditions. Some of these conditions are substantive, such as recalling the loan in case interest is not paid. Recalling is pay back the loan now if you don't pay the interest on time. And some conditions are procedural and not substantive, such as submission of insurance details, where the entity has taken the insurance but not submitted details to the lender at the end of the reporting period. So sometimes the agreement can contain procedural conditions that you have to submit this document, that document, insurance document, like that. Generally, customer banker relationships are developed whereby, in case of procedural breach, that is, you didn't submit any document in time, a loan is generally not recalled. Because in India, even the bankers want to do business. Okay, they treat the client with respect. Also, in many cases, a breach is rectified after the balance sheet date and before the approval of financial statements. So most of the times, even there is a breach happening on the balance sheet date, we rectify it later. So we get some time to pay back. Carve out has been made as it is felt that if the breach is rectified at the balance sheet date and before the approval of financial statements, it would be appropriate that the users are informed about the true nature of the liabilities being non-current. So the users who are users, that is investors and any other persons who are reading the financial statements, they should understand that this is still a long-term liability. This is not a current liability. Otherwise, they will say, yeah, this is current liability. A big amount can be added to current liability if such IFRS has to be followed, and not current liabilities. They need to understand that this is we have rectified, and this is definitely a long-term liability, not a current liability, because we have agreed with the bankers. Bankers have said yes, so still it is long-term. If we had followed the IFRS in exact wordings, then we would have to classify that as current, even if we have negotiated with the bankers. So that's the logic of the carve out. Now, this is the roadmap of the IFRS, how they were implemented in India. Now, please pay attention. Roadmap for implementation of the Indian Accounting Standards, Ind AS, for companies other than banks, NBFCs and insurance companies. So we are not talking about banks, NBFCs, insurance companies. Okay, other companies. So banks, NBFCs, and insurance companies are kept out at the beginning. Phase one. Phase one. 1st April 15. We read that 15-16 was a voluntary year. So if you want, you can voluntarily apply. 1st April 15 or thereafter, voluntary basis for all companies with comparatives. Comparatives is previous year's statements as well. So while presenting the current year's P&L and balance sheet, you have to attach the previous year's P&L and balance sheet also, just for comparison purpose. I'll show you how that is. Then from April 16, the actual mandatory thing started. From April 16, mandatory basis. Now please pay attention. It was made applicable to listed companies or companies in process of listing on stock exchanges in India or outside India, having net worth of more than or equal to 500 crore. What is net worth? Share capital and reserves, or assets less liabilities. So listed companies or in the process of listing, either in India or outside India, having net worth of more than equal to 500 crores, mandatory basis. Unlisted companies also having net worth of more than or equal to 500 crores. Parent, subsidiary, associate, and joint venture of the above. So any company which is a parent or subsidiary, associate, or joint venture of the above companies, companies having net worth of more than 500 crores, listed, unlisted, they had to have Ind AS. Then phase 2, next year, from April 17, it was made mandatory for all companies which are listed or in the process of listing inside or outside India. So now all listed companies were covered. Earlier, it was only having net worth of more than 500 crore or equal to 500 crore. Now all listed companies are covered from 17. So all companies which are listed or in the process of listing inside or outside India on stock exchange, not covered in phase 1. So phase 1 मध्ये जे covered झाले ते तर आहेतच, प्लस बाकीच्या कंपनी लिस्टेड आणि प्रोसेस ऑफ लिस्टिंग आहेत विच वर नॉट कवर्ड इन फेज 1. मला नेटवर्क बघायची गरज नाहीये. Other than companies listed on SME exchange. SME is small medium enterprise exchanges. So they are not covered because they are anyway small medium enterprises. Unlisted companies having net worth of 250 crore or more. So already we covered up to 500 crore. Now they covered up to unlisted companies having net worth of 250 crore or more. Then again, parent, subsidiary, associate, joint ventures of the above. Companies listed on the SME exchange not required to apply Ind AS. That is small medium enterprise exchange. They are small companies. They don't have to apply. Once Ind AS are applicable, an entity shall be required to follow the Ind AS for all the subsequent financials. Once you apply, for example, these companies, they started applying from 16, you have to continue. Or some company, like the big companies, started adopting from 15 only. Continue. And very important point, companies which are not covered by the above roadmap. Okay. So any company which is not covered under phase 1, phase 2 shall continue to apply existing accounting standards notified under the old rules, that is the rules 2006. Understood? Have you understood this roadmap?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So now for accounts also, we will be writing the important points. At the same time, we will have a proper notebook with all the important notes at one place. Okay. So you won't have to read the whole module before the exam because that will become impossible. So now write down the chapter name. Firstly, write down Ind AS on presentation. Write down chapter 1 only. Chapter 1. Ind AS on presentation of items in financial statements. And then Unit 1. Indian Accounting Standard 1. Presentation of financial statements.